Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel to Only Movies, and today we are doing is ranking all six of the Final Destination movies. So I'm gonna give you my worst to best movies, and I'm gonna give you my reviews on it and thoughts on it as well. If you see my last channel, I gave you my review for Bloodline, but I'm still gonna give you a review here and the rank. Um, uh, so let's get started. So these are gonna be my ranking for Final Destination. So don't get offended if some of them aren't in up in your ranking level. But if you think they're a lot different, you could let me know down in the comments if these ranks that I'm gonna give you of the movie are a lot different. Which one you think is the worst, the best? But like I said, we're just gonna get started and just gonna give you my rank. So the first one we're gonna give you is my number six is the Final Destination, is which technically is Final Destination number four, because for me, it was directed by David R. Elias, and for my opinion, why it was the worst is because it was flat, boring, ridiculous. Um, just a group of people who survived a racetrack, who from disasters, who got haunted and got killed even more cruel, and then and of course, the actors were terrible. The characters weren't likable, and the most worst, awful parts was, of course, the 3D. At that time, it was in 2009. At that time, since Avatar made so much money on 3D movies, they started doing 3D movies. So Final Destination goes like, hey, okay, so let's make some money off of this. Let's do 3D. And with the 3D, it was not good. And what didn't help either with the 3D is the CGI. The CGI was terrible. Um, like I said, the kills were terrible on this. I really didn't like it. And with this one, did not include Tony Todd, which I think was a good thing, because if he was in it, he still wouldn't save this movie. Um, so it was a good thing he wasn't in it. So I didn't really like it. And for this, the character who had the premonition, every time on the daytime before someone got killed, he had a premonition. So what's like shows a vision of like what's gonna happen, who's gonna get killed, um, what's coming for them and all, and that he's trying to figure out like, hey, you need to avoid this, you need to avoid that. And for me, it wasn't all that great, and there wasn't no kills that I really liked. It was all really terrible. So like I said, for number four, Final Destination number four, I ranked as number six, and for my ratings, review for it, it's 1 out of 5. I just really didn't like it. It was just like I said, bland. It wasn't all that exciting. CGI was terrible. 3D, they relied too much on 3D. So like this was my worst one. So at number five will be, in my opinion, Final Destination number three. It was directed by James Wong. Yeah, he directed the first one, but we'll talk about that in a bit. But for this one, number three, he directed it, and this time we have a second final girl in the franchise, starting with Mary Elizabeth Winstead. She starts in the girl who has anxiety, riding the roller coaster. Yeah, riding this time riding the roller coaster is very scary to some, but for Mary it was not. Um, was very scary for her because like she started having this premonition, that the roller coaster wasn't working well, and she's trying to warn people, and her few of her friends got out, but unlike her boyfriend, her and one of her friend did not make it out alive, who got stuck on the ride and got killed. And then later on, like of course the same formula as always, but most of them have visions again, have, okay, they warn people and stuff, and there's like letting them know, hey, they got killed and stuff. And then she sees the death ahead with when she took photos at the carnival, because this as well as the McKinley High of the high school, of course, like from the last two movies before this one, happens in the same location and all. But like I said, for this one, she had to warn people and stuff, letting them know it's like, hey, death is coming for you, even though people are, some of them don't believe them, or some of them are scared of it. And but I know there's one guy who was like, of course, we had that from the last movie. It's like believing, it's like, hey, if death is coming for me, it's coming for me. I'm not scared of death. And once it does happen, it happened. But for this one, and on this one, for the guy who saying who faces death, he doesn't believe it. For this one was a lot different compared to number two, which I'm gonna tell you that much later on. But for this one, he's like, okay, I'm not afraid of death. Let death face me, and then he beats death. But then sadly, he got killed once with the weight machines because the blades cut this part of the machine in the working out machine where he was working out, and then he lifted the weights and it wasn't connected, and so it smashed his face together. So that was very gruesome. So most of you who lift weights and all, be careful. Pay attention to your forms as well. But anyways, for me it was really enjoyable. I really did really like it, but I ranked this as my number 5. But also, before I get to that, the other kills, like the kills are really bad. Like the one scene that the two chicks who were in the tanning scene, that's really bad because they got trapped and burning inside alive like that. That must have hurt really bad. So for this, the kills, it's kind of tough for me, because there was a lot of good kills on this one. Because of course, one dude, his girlfriend got killed by the nail gun. When you're nailing something, she got killed with that. One guy, when this truck was coming towards this fast food, it just hit one of the car, and then the motor fell out, and then it just sliced the guy back of the head and all. So it's kind of hard to pick because, like I said, there are so many. But I guess I would have to say, for my opinion, for the worst kill in this film, has to be the tanning scene, because, like I said, getting burned alive, and then that that got that got hurt a lot. So for and then before I go off to what's my ranking and all, I also have to talk about for number 3. For me, was the reason I rank it to this rank is because the ending was kind of a bit confusing. I wouldn't say confusing, but it's just threw me off because, like, okay, yeah, they survive. She goes to a different town now, and then she bumps into her sister, then bumps into one of her friends. So the main 3 people who survived. Then she had premonition about the train and stuff. So it's kind of repeating stuff, but then you really don't get a satisfying end. Supposedly, like, I know some people will say Mary's character survived, so she's the only one who survived, but not really, because like I said, like, how are you gonna survive a train wreck? Because it is scary to think of a train wreck, because you don't see that in other films. But like I said, this one was kind of off because they repeated it again. Okay, she had a vision. She's like, okay, something's coming up, and then it happened again because she thought her vision from her sister and her friend thought, like, okay, this was supposed to happen, but actually it's supposed to be this one. So death was waiting for them months later. So that's why it's just one thing that kind of threw me off for the ending of number 3. But like I said, it's still enjoyable. So for me, from my rank for this was number 5, and for my ratings, I say I give this film about like um 3 out of 5 because it's really enjoyable. The kills are really gruesome. The story is really good. Mary Elizabeth did a good job as the final girl, trying to protect the people and all, trying to save her friends, even her sister, because her sister was there too. But like I said, in my opinion, was number 5. But if you think wrong, if I'm wrong, let me know down in the comments. But that was my opinion. So let's get started for the next ranking for the next film. So starting at number 4 is the OG, the one that started all, Final Destination. I know, yes, I know. Usually I say number 1, the first original movie is always gonna be the top, the best and original. I did really enjoy this one. This one was directed by James Wong, but the reason I give it to my number 4, because, like, yeah, it is enjoyable. I do love it. It started the franchise, but just let me hear me out, give me my reason. So yeah, it's very scary when someone's thinking like they're getting on a plane for the first time, or who has never been on a plane. That very scary, right? It's a really big, risky move. But I say this one was ahead of its time, especially before this was movie came out in the early 2000, way 1 year before the accident that happened of 9/11. So they were ahead of their time, because if this film wasn't gonna be, let's say, later on that year or years later, it would never come out. It probably wouldn't be allowed to be playing in theaters maybe a few late years later, or change it up. But this one that started all was did the franchise, because without it we will probably not get all these other six movies. But this one started Devon Saw and a few other cast members that become big nowadays. Of course, Tony Todd was in this film as well, who plays Death, warning them, these guys, about death and all, and coming for them, how to cheat death and all. But yeah, usually in the beginning, of course, we all know, one of the students had a vision that the plane was gonna explode. Um, but people didn't believe him, and they tried to kick him out, and there's a bit argument, and then of course the plane exploded. But before that happened, so you see how gruesome it is. Like, one of the planes, like, their one of the wings fell apart, the engine fell off, and then everyone was few people flew off the windows out the outside, blowing off. That's very scary to think about, especially because you have no parachute or anything, so you can't survive from that 1,000 feet fall. But then getting blown up in flames and all, that's very scary. And also, it is very scary to think about, especially, like I said, if you're afraid of heights and all that, especially if you're flying on planes and all. But like I said, it's something unexpected. It's like no one knows what to expect when death is coming for you, and luckily someone who tells you, warns you, that you should take it. But sadly, if you cheat death, and you could be dead again, because after what happened to after the main people who survived, it sucked the way how they died. It's crazy how it goes, cause especially with one friend, they thought it was suicide, but which really wasn't, because he got tangled up in the bathroom, and supposedly got hanged and all, but he slipped because the shampoo was everywhere on the floor and stuff. And I think that's very crazy death as well, if you after you survive, because you think you're gonna be okay, but after death is coming back for you and all. Which I really thought this movie was really entertaining. Really enjoyed it. That's like the first movie I saw from Final Destination, like the early years. I always watch, when I do my movie marathon, I will watch the first three, and then later on they come up with the new ones. But other than that, like I said, I think the performance was really enjoyable, really great from all the cast, especially Tony Todd, like I said earlier. James Wan really did an amazing job directing this film, especially with the kills. I know it was early 2000. I know the CGI wasn't all that great compared to now, but it's still enjoyable, still entertained us. It wasn't had to be like a big film, like, oh yeah, it has to be big and all. But no, it was just really entertaining, really gruesome, a great horror film to start off for. But like I said, this was my number 4 rating. And then for my ratings for this film, like I said, I give it a 3 out of 5. Because like I said, it's really enjoyable and stuff, with all the kills and stuff. Because I can't really show the kills on YouTube, because then they're probably gonna remove this film. But I could just only tell you what happens. And some of the characters, especially, like I said, one got hanged because they thought it was suicide. The other one, like I said, of course, of the plane. But then, of course, the one girl who got ran over by a bus, which that was a crazy kill. For me, one of them who's trying to, of course, like in most characters in this franchise, there's always one has to think that, hey, you can't choose my destiny. I only choose myself. Death, if it comes for me, I could face death myself and stuff. Those big cocky person, saying that they could face death, and he tried to do that when he stops on top of the train rail, and then train tries to comes, and then Death had a plan for him, locked him up, and then but luckily he got out the window, so the train destroyed his car and all. So that would have been a very crazy death. But yeah, there's other ones that are really gruesome and all. So But and of course they thought they survived death by cheating death what everything they done with Tony Todd's character warning them what to do and stuff. But sadly at the end, the main character for Devin Solomon, his character had a feeling after they went to their trip to Paris a few months later. I forgot how long it was. I want to say 3 months later. They finally went to their trip to Paris and stuff. But sadly, Dev was coming back for them, and sadly, one of the characters who survived got killed, who was the cocky character, of course. He's the one who got killed, and Devin's character survived, and another female character survived, so she was the final girl for the first film, and also, but like I said, I'll talk more about Devin Saul's character and the final girl's character in number 2 later on. But for like I said, for this one, the ending was very satisfying ending for this film, but we'll talk more into it later. This one was my ranking, and this one's gonna be my 3 out of 5. So hopefully you guys like this one. But like I said, let me know down in the comments what you guys think, which one, if I was wrong for this ranking for this one. But other than that, let's get on to the next film. So for my next rank for number 3 is Final Destination number 2. Of course, directed by David R. Elias. Of course, he he directed this first before he directed the other ones. But of course, number 2, everyone's is one of my favorites from the franchise, and of course, people who watched the number 2 remember is because the freeway accident with the truck log. Because everyone always remembers, like when they think of Final Destination, they think of that. That's like when that's most time because everyone ends up in accidents in the streets and the freeways, and also especially when you see a truck log like that, you're like, oh my god, it's Final Destination, we better not end up behind that truck because then we're gonna get killed. And also everyone always remembers number 2 because of that. But other than that, yeah, so for this one, of course, Ali Ladder, who plays Claire Rivers from the first Final Destination, who was the final girl, survived. So our very first final girl in the lead role, Claire, gets resurrected from her Final Destination slumber to help a group of people who should have died in a massive car crash. So they use Ali's character Claire, like I said, for her to help these group of people, because sadly, Devin's character, they had to kill him off because due to his scheduling and all, couldn't work out with him to come back to reprise his role, because since he survived from the first one, but sadly in the film they had to make him seem like he died. So I was kind of disappointed about that. I really wanted Devin to come back to the second film because I felt like he was more of the protagonist in the first film to help these people out, but sadly didn't work with his scheduling hours, so they had to kill him off and put Claire as the main final girl to help these group of people who survived in the car crash accident in the freeway. But like I said, that's the only part that I felt like was my negative part in this film. But other than that, everything else was really great with all the cast and characters they had. The kills were really gruesome as well. After seeing the car crash on the freeway, that was really gruesome. But there's other ones that are really messed up kills, like due to this kid who got smashed by this glass window, and then the mom, who's the kid's mom, got killed by the elevator shaft, which that was pretty some fucked up shit. And we got another guy who was cocky, who was trying to think that he could cheat death, that no matter what death, it's up to him. It's because he tried to kill himself with a gun, but the gun was loaded, so Death had a different plan for him, so he didn't want him to kill himself. So the only plan he had to do is of course, go back to Tony Todd's character to talk to them, because Claire remembers him, so she had to go ask him for his help again, which was really great to see him again in this film. But sadly, like all the other ones, number 3, you only see him from his voice and stuff, but seeing him back again from this one was really great. But like I said, he told them to only cheat death is to kill a life, and to kill someone who had extended life to survive, to their life will be safe like that. But then some of them didn't want to kill anyone because that's really some messed up stuff to do. It's like if you want to survive, you're gonna have to kill someone, which no one wants to ever do that kind of stuff. Uh, death's coming for you. If it happens, it happens. But they try to find other ways to survive. So other people who were killed was really messed up. Like one guy, there was an accident where like one of the wires slid him in half. One chick, the airbags blew her face up, and so much other stuff was really messed up. But I know for the main character, Kimberly, who tried to cheat death, the only way to cheat death is like first, they thought the one of the lady who was pregnant was gonna help them survive the cheat death, but when she revisit her vision, she wasn't involved in the accident, so they got their premonition wrong. So what they had to do, she had to kill herself. So she had to drive herself to a lake. So once she drowns, they could bring her back to life and stuff. So that's what happens, and they cheated death. But then with all that, our main character, final girl Claire, who was sadly got killed because she was in a mental hospital. She tried to avoid death so she won't have to face it and try to survive. But sadly, she got blown up and all with one of the other characters who was in the hospital. So, like I said, Kimberly's character and the cop character had a cheat death, but they survived. But then one guy who wasn't involved with the car crash, he almost got ran over by this reporter, but he was saved by one of the main characters who was, like I said, split in half with a wire. Survived, but at the end of the movie, he got blown up when he was grilling some barbecue at the end of the movies. So that was the only thing that was messed up for that kid. He got blown up when she didn't do anything. But like I said, this film was really great. I really enjoyed this one. That's why I ranked it for my number 3. But before I go to my what's my ratings for this? Actually, after this happens, from like when I said from number 3, we don't see these characters who survived, so they don't talk about these characters later on in any of the films. Um, she seems like her and the cop were the only ones main survivors, so we don't hear about their characters later on in the future of any other films. Just like always, they always talk about what happened of the freeway, the plane crash, and all that. So that's pretty mainly all we hear from what happened from the other films. We don't really hear about the other characters anymore after this. The only characters we mainly see is Tony Todd's character when he showed up in the first, the second. You hear his voice from number 3, but you don't see him, and then of course he'll come back in the other last 2 films. But we'll talk more about that in a bit. But like I said, for my ratings for this film, I give it a 4 out of 5 because like I said, this has some gruesome kills. The CGI is a little better from the first one. I know it's not the best from nowadays. Like I said, this is from the early 2000s, so early 2000s was a lot different, but still entertaining. But like I said, and this one was my number 3, so that's what I give for this one. So let's go off to the next film. So for our next list, for number 2 is Final Destination 5, who was directed by Steven. Sorry if I can't pronounce his last name. Kulon. It was in 2011. Yeah, this film, I believe they still did it in 3D, but the only thing, it was a little better than compared to number 4. The bridge scene was very scary, especially like back in the day when they try to construct the bridges, it was shaking stuff, especially with the high winds and stuff. But with this scene, like with everyone falling down from the bridge when it's collapsing, stuff was a big scary thing. So I know a lot of people will be very scared for this kind of scene. If a bridge collapses once you're trying to pass through to the other side of the island, or places, depends where you're at. But yeah, these scenes were for the kill scenes were very gruesome when co-worker and stuff. A lot of scenes and all. The only thing I just didn't like was the what's called kind of like the kill scenes with when they do the blood. It was mainly CGI. No surprise there because I knew kills like these were gonna be used with CGI. But then like again, like I said, the kills were really good. the only thing was messed up, like when they go back to Tony Todd, because Tony Todd again, he comes back, his surprises role on number 5, unlike the last two. Um, but he did come back, try to tell them how to cheat death again, but this time letting them know that if you take a life, you could earn that life. So one of the guys, main character's best friend, was like, didn't want to die, so he had to find a way to kill someone, but he was too scared, so the only way he could kill someone is someone he knows, because killing someone you don't know is like really mess you up. But for him, he thinking, okay, killing his best friend or his girl, because his girl, sadly, she died because of gymnastic accident, because the man, it was really messed up. And he was like, well, how can she get to die and not your girl, and how can she get to survive, and this and that. It's really like messed up to think about when someone like wants to live and they'll take someone's life. I don't think I'll be able to do that, but that's what happens. But luckily the two main characters survive and all. But there was a plot twist at the end, if you didn't know. So for spoilers for this one, is that if you haven't seen number 5, so you're gonna have to skip this. But like I said earlier, there's always gonna be spoilers. So for this one, there was a plot twist. This one was technically, well, it's a prequel to the first one. So all this happened before number 1. So at the end, their trip. So one of the main characters, he had a opportunity to go to Paris because he's the chef and all. So his master chef told him, like, hey, you got this opportunity. You go to Paris, you could own your business, this and that. So he went, but the problem is the flight that he was going was 180. If you remember the flight from 180 from the first movie, was the disaster where the Devin Sawa's character had the vision that there's gonna be the plane was gonna explode and stuff, and then you see at the ending that his characters them were arguing just like in the first scene of the first movie, and then they were wondering what's going on, and they said the kid had a vision of him the plane was gonna explode, and then they died sadly, and then another character died when one of the motors landed on top of him. But then that was really messed up. But like I said, this was a 3D thing, so they had to focus on 3D. But what the cool thing at the end of the movie, they did like a little post credits showing like homage to all 5 of the movies. Because at first we all thought number 5 was gonna be their last movie of No More Final Destination, but this year we just got a new one of Bloodline. But we'll talk about that in a bit. But like I said, the kills for me, the ones really gruesome is, I say, one of the co-workers who got a hook stuck onto his chin, who got killed. I think that was the really messed up, but I know some people think the other, like the gymnastic ones, would be really messed up. But in my opinion, I believe the hook stuck on the guy's chin was really messed up. So like I said, my rank was number 2 for this, and for me, my rating for this, I give it a 4.5 out of 5. Right, the one you guys been waiting for to be number 1. The number 1 in this list is Snow White. Oh yeah, the one who just came out this year, Snow White with Rachel Zegler, was the best movie of all time of this year.
Yeah. Weird.
Said no one. Psych. I'm just kidding. It's not Snow White. This is not even a horror movie anyways. If we're talking about horror movies, we're talking about Final Destination. As number 1 for Final Destination is Final Destination Bloodline. Woo! This one was really surprising for me, and I bet you if most of you seen this, it was something very different. So if you see my last video, I did a review for it, talking about it, but I'm gonna give my spoilers for this one. So if you haven't seen this movie, this is a spoiler, so it's just to give you a heads up, because I'm gonna talk a lot more what's going on with the connection of the last films, who's everything that's happening, the kills and stuff, and I'm gonna give you my reviews, of course, of it, and I already gave my review for it, but I'll give you it again, and then of course my thoughts on it. So let's get started. And of course, for Final Destination Bloodline, man, it was completely a lot different compared to the last film. Like I said, from the last film, they did everything was the same formula for all 5. Someone had premonition, what's going on, what's the accident stuff, because this lady and her boyfriend were out on a date on this tall tower, and then she had a vision that it was falling apart and stuff, that it was gonna fall. And I was thinking, okay, we're gonna see it. Everyone's gonna get hurt. Everyone's gonna get killed. And once the main final person gets killed, we're gonna go back to the same thing. They're gonna have the vision. They're gonna try to warn everyone. And no, it was completely different. I didn't expect that. I thought we are gonna do the same formula, but they changed it up. This time it went straight to her granddaughter. Her granddaughter was having this vision. She was in class and falling asleep during class, and she woke up about having this dream. She said she's been having these dreams for 2 months now, and she's wondering why she's having dreams of her grandma's past and stuff. Is this real or what's going on? She doesn't understand, so she wanted to go talk to her. So she went to her dad, but then sadly her mom ran away because her mom is related to her grandma. But she has no idea from her grandma, so she goes to her uncle because her uncle is related to her grandma. Her grandma's name Iris. That's what I forgot to mention. Her grandma. And then when she goes to her uncle tells her like forget about her. She's crazy. They have no idea what happened to her. He doesn't want any connection with her because all their life they've been scared. She's been scaring them like be careful with this, be careful with that. Like, it's like, hey, watch out with this knife, watch out with this, watch out with, don't run with scissors and stuff. So she was really paranoid about that because after everything, her husband actually really died after everyone who survived. But so she had to find a way so she could live and then for her kids because she was trying to help people out. But people who survived, there was a lot of people in that tower, so it was kind of hard to save all those people. So most of them like either moved away from different cities or far away, so it's kind of hard for her to contact with them people. So most of them either die, so it kind of does connect with all 5 movies. So they're like distant relatives or friends, family and stuff like that that she was trying to help out. But then it's been 50 years later, so it's kind of hard to help these people out. So what she had to do is warn her granddaughter because her granddaughter went to visit her because she was wanting to find out why she's having these visions or dreams and stuff about her past and stuff. And then she goes like, well, I face the death, I'm trying to face it because she lives far off the woods and this cabin and it's like trying to protect herself from death and stuff. And she's like, seems crazy because she's like, I know it's you, I know what you're trying to do, you can't fool me just because you're trying to test me because my granddaughter's here, this and that, because she hasn't seen her granddaughter for a long time. But then she has this big book letting her granddaughter know, it's like, hey, you should learn this. I'm going to teach you because if you could see death ahead of time, you could save yourself and your family. But then when she tries to go warn her family, they sort of don't believe her and stuff, and sadly her grandma died, which was kind of cruel to death because like, man, it was messed up the way her grandma died. But the only thing I just didn't like, what I forgot to mention from my last video, is like the negative thoughts for it is that the negative is like, okay, I've been seeing a new trend they're doing for horror movies. Instead of actual practical effects for blood, they use CGI for the blood. So you can notice when she gets splattered from her grandma's blood and stuff, it's really fake. It kind of threw me off. I was like, kind of looks weird, kind of gelatin look on her face and stuff. That's the only thing that I just didn't like of that part. But then like the rest and all, it goes like that because it's CGI. Because most of the death is gonna be CGI. They're not gonna use practical effects and all. But and other than that, like I said, so she's trying to figure out who could she save next, and sadly, like one of the main characters we thought was related, the guy who you see most of the trailers with the nose piercing, he's not related to their family. He just found out that him and his family had difficult problems before she had him, so she cheated on her husband and stuff. So sadly, like that's really messed up to hear. But I feel like for that character, he kind of saved the whole movie. It was really funny and stuff, and he did a good job. But man, the way he died was really messed up because you did not expect that. I was thinking, oh man, they just showed the trailer how he died. And it's like, no, he survived. I was like, okay, then he's gonna get hit by a car. No, he's not. But like I said, since he's not related to them, he couldn't survive. But he still has a chance to save his brother and sister because they're half brother and sisters. He still wants to protect his little brother because sadly his sister got killed by a garbage truck, which she fell into this trash can and all, and then picked her up and all. So it was really messed up. But for me, what's really amazing to see is like in one part of the flashback from Grandma Iris, there's a little boy that you see one of the singers, she has her son in there, and she's telling him, hey, we're almost done with this shift, there's one more gig and then we'll go home. And then you realize, because in the grandma's book, she said one person did actually survive, and it says JB. They're trying to figure out who's this JB, so they search his name and stuff. They find out that he works at a hospital, so they go to the hospital that's like hours away from them, and then they realize is Tony Todd's character, who's the little boy who survived, and he's been in all films of the Final Destination, well, except for 3 and 4, but you know what I mean. Um, so he's the one who's always warning people about death and stuff, and he's the one who survived in number 5. And it was so amazing to see him on his last performance that he's kind of giving the audience a little speech and stuff, and it's pretty amazing stuff to hear him. But it's really sad that he passed away. I know at the end of the credits, like I said, they did a little credits on his memory and all, which was really amazing. But it was just sad to see him in his final film, because I've seen him in so many films, from Candyman, The Crow, so much more. He did voiceover as well, but it's just really sad to see him being on his final film and all. But other than that, like I said, after they try to, one by one, the death, like each family were dying. The only main survivor was the last two main characters, and at the end, they believe they survived, but then because at the end they're trying to protect their mom, because their mom comes back as well. When their grandma died, she comes back, and then but then she let her know that, hey, since you're the only one left, the only way you could live, so we all could live and cheat death, is so you could go to grandma's Iris's cabin. Is very protective, because she was really protective, so you could stay there. But then Death had a different plan, and then their plan didn't go as planned. The place exploded, the RV fell over, and the main character was drowning and stuff, so the brother had to go save his sister, and then he helped her out, so they thought they cheated Death, but then at the end, the brother had a prom as well. And then they realized that the music that was playing from her vision from Grandma's Iris, from the one song they was playing, then noticed it was playing again. And then they realized, one guy says, like, well, just because your brother saved you from death, well, it's not death and all, saving from, because you were drowning, you really weren't really dead, because your heart didn't stop beating and stuff. And then realized they did not cheat death, so death still was coming for them. And this train track railed through the neighborhood, and they're chasing them. Then the train track had logs, and then just smashed them and killed them, which really messed up. There are so many messed up kills, but the one kill I thought was really messed up is when in the hospital scene, is like the brothers, like telling the one with the piercing and tattoos, was telling his brothers, like, hey, we're gonna cheat, I'm gonna help you cheat death, so what you gonna do? He's allergic to peanut butter, and then he tells, like, eat the peanut butter. And they're in this room where they do CAT scans and scanning, like you see if you have cancer and stuff, or anything, depends on what it is. And then the power went off by itself, because they accidentally I forgot how it went. Something hit the uh, something hit the machine that turned on. The power was going on, and it went over max, and then the magnet was trying to suck in all the metal stuff. And then the dude with the nose pierce had piercing, and ripped off his nose piercing, and he ripped off his nipple piercing, and then he had a piercing down in his dick, and it's like trying to suck him in. It's like, oof, man, that looked like was the most painful one of all. That, I think that was the most painful way to go get killed. Then that's in my opinion. But if you guys seen the movie, let me know down in the comments which one you think was the worst death. But other than that, like I said, the movie was really great. It was something really different compared to the last 5, because you think, like, okay, you're gonna see who gets killed, who you're gonna try to save, but actually it goes off different ways, and it goes through by the family, from order, like the oldest to the youngest and stuff like that. So it was really different compared to the last 5. But I'm just hoping this will be the final film. But knowing them, that they made so much money and it got good reviews from the audience, I already know Hollywood is gonna want to plan on making another film, either another film or a reboot. And I hope they don't do the reboot route. And if they do continuation, I feel like I don't know what else I could do because we already seen so much death, getting people paranoid and stuff. I don't know what else they could do or what they could be planning on. So of course, my rank is number one for this one, and my review for this one, you've seen the last one. It's a 5 out of 5 because it's really good. But if you've seen it, let me know down in the comments. But other than that, hopefully you guys like this video. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. What's your ranking for the Final Destination from worst to best? Which one you think is the best or not? And which one did you like? Which one did you not like? But other than that, don't forget to like and comment down below and like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys later.